Because of our desire to see this country return to Jesus Christ, and because we have tried every peaceful means of redress in the past with no avail, we've decided that the time has come to stand.
In 1984, Carey Noble set out to start the next American Revolution by killing hundreds of homosexuals in a church, serving as high priest of the Christian militant organization The Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord. He conspired with leader Jim Ellison that to properly fear God, they must kill the enemies of the white, pure Christian race.
Our stand has been made known in the past that we won't allow violence against our people.
I went to Jim and said, "Do you want the war to start?" He said, "You know I do." Okay, then get me, our munitions guy, to give me a briefcase of C4. I need a silenced weapon, and I'll start the war for you. This will start the American Revolution. And I said, but I need to ask you this first. How does God view the killing of, or the death of, a black person, a gay person, Jewish person, whoever we consider the enemy? He said, God doesn't view it any different than a dog dying. I said, you're absolutely convinced of that? You're sure? I'm sure. So, okay, then let's start the war. I'm tired. I'm not going to argue anymore. Let's start the war. I will be the guy that starts everything so the Second American Revolution happens.
Start a fire, just like a fag. A fag is...
Hate is inherent. Fear may be inherent.
It don't take much to set you off.
There are lots of people trying to control you to think in a certain way.
We are unquestionably living in the last days.
Dehumanization is the prerequisite to genocidal carnage.
We're in a particularly awful stage in human history. We lost our capacity to repent.
Trying just to stay alive.
$350 million years ago, life crawled from the sea. 250 million years ago, that life form divided itself into two classes, the rhapsids and dinosaurs. The rhapsids evolved into what is known today as mammals. All mammals share the same basic instinct, to survive. In 1952, neurologist Paul MacLean proposed that this core instinct is derived from a special system in the brain known as the limbic system. It is here, he determined, that all emotional survival instincts originate. However, some 50,000 years ago, something unique happened to one of these creatures. It became conscious of its own consciousness, gaining the ability to contemplate its life as well as its death, to see not only what is, but what could be, giving us unparalleled power to create and destroy, to love and to hate. A completely unique creature, one that has fused its highest thinking capabilities, the creation of symbolic meaning systems, with its most primitive instinct, fear.
The problem is we've learned how to amplify that fear. And that amplification can then play this role, in a sense, playing on this primitive drum as though it was an intense threat. And because you can amplify the sense of threat, even without it being true threat, you can amplify it by stories that are heighten your senses, that make chills run up your spine, build up your sense of hate and desire for retribution. Those are terrific, terrifically powerful at controlling systems that, in a sense, were never designed to pick that up. They'd never evolved for such kind of input.
What you need to do
do is close your mouth and start reading the Bible and quit so much leaning on your own understanding. The fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom. And if you don't have a fear of God before your eyes, you can't for 1 minute think that you know anything of any gravity about this life or the next.
Same day Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from God out of heaven and destroyed them all. Bang! Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. That means the end of the world, second coming of Christ, final judgment day. That word translated revealed there is apocalypto, where we get our word apocalypse. You know what that means. That's all in answer to the question, do I think the end is near?
Hey! The country is going to hell in a faggot's handbasket.
We have an anchor that keeps the soul.
Those idiots don't preach Bible. You can't preach Bible when it says 4-1, the curses of God and hell and the wrath of God and the hatred of God predominate.
Go to hell, be over God's tears. God don't want you to go. Blah, blah, blah. The heck he don't. He's rejoicing sending you to hell. And laughing and mocking, deriding. All those are good Bible words. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall hold them in derision. Because you would none of my reproofs, had no regard whatsoever to my warnings and admonitions and my servants that I sent unto you. Therefore, I will laugh when your calamity comes, and mock at your fear, at your terror.
Fear is good, as Darwin and Freud and other folks point out. If we weren't afraid, we wouldn't be alive. So fear of snakes, that's a good thing. Fear of heights is a good thing. Fear of the hungry lion taking a bite out of your buttocks back in the old days, if you like living, is a good thing. You're not done with those body parts when other hungry carnivorous predators are desirous of them. And so I don't think there's any doubt that we don't have to like being afraid, but being afraid keeps us alive. But the difficulties arise when our fears shift to the symbolic mode, when self-preservation is no longer an issue.
The hatred of God is a fixed determination in the Almighty to punish the wicked who die impenitently. Hell is the hatred of God.
It's good news that those fools are going to hell.
Worse is coming, that conditions are going to change, and they're only going to change for the worse.
There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fire and indignation which shall devour the adversary. I do not want to be doing that.
No matter how bad you're hurt in this life, there's nothing like eternal fire. That scares me just about worse than anything else, of being sent to hell. And if that means that I have to love my neighbor by telling them the truth that they don't want to hear and be hated for it, if that's what I have to do, I'm going to do it.
God hates that preacher. You have no scripture for that lie that God loves everyone. Not one scripture. What he says is he hated Esau. So why do you let him tell you God loves everyone? Malachi 1, first chapter Malachi, when you're raising that child for the devil, don't do it. He'll curse you throughout eternity. Don't do it.
God hates the Lutheran Church.
You've got to accept that there's a category of people who he hates, and you better find out whether you're in that category. And it's that simple.
See if that buys you even a drop of water to cool your tongue throughout eternity.
The best comparison of these days to something in the scriptures is the fall of Israel. Things that are happening, 9/11, Columbine. I could talk for an hour identifying and articulating all the awful things. A sure sign that a nation has done that is the explosion of the sodomites onto the scene.
God hates America.
And then it says it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. I'm telling you, it's going to go bad for those people.
And something in me just clicked. And it was like, did you not hear what I said? I said, get up. And if she get up, I'm knowing now, because I'm reaching now for the knife. And there's something in me, and this is what was so weird, it's like I'm split off. There's this, it said, part of me, it says, go back where you come from. But there's the rest of me knew, I'm gonna kill you.
On December 20th, 1981, Ricky Smith walked into Pike's shoe store and stabbed the owner to death.
In order for me to survive my fear and pain, I must establish myself as dominant in a world that I feel is trying to dominate me. So now I'd established that there's nothing wrong with me. It's all of you that's messing this up.
Fear creates a whole zone of unconsciousness with a sense that I'm powerless. We can't live with the awareness of the utter fragility of existence. I mean, we have to, in order to live, we have to create a certain kind of illusion that we have control.
What do we want? White power! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? White power! What do we want it?
We must secure the existence of our race and the future for white children. If we don't, then it's going down the drain.
Well, think of us. There are wolves out there. There are sheepdogs out there. And there are shepherds out there. They all have their roles. I don't consider myself to be a wolf per se because I'm an above ground activist. I'm engaged in legal political defiance. So think of me as being a sheepdog. I'm guarding the flock.
If it's brown, flush it down! If it's brown, flush it down!
You're a Jew, Kike. Recognized you from 100 yards, didn't I? Smell of pork. Could improve those vocal cords of yours the noose.
Fear is the mother of violence. If we weren't afraid, then people that are different might annoy us, but they certainly would not enrage us.
You're a loser because you're walking down the street with a fucking shit on your arm.
Are you the equal of a Mongoloid with an IQ of 20?
Whatever, man. I ain't no race trader, bro. I'm an American.
One would imagine that any species that becomes highly social and highly dependent on a social group will develop a whole series of predispositions to aid kin and those who you closely associate with on a regular basis, and immediately respond in a fearful, aggressive stance towards a stranger that shows up.
Please do not throw bananas at the non-whites. Please do not feed the non-whites.
People say, why do you hate people? I said, you know, I don't hate just one person. I hate everybody equally. Gas the Jews, hang the niggers. You can drag them if you want to. I don't give a damn.
Let's rock and roll. Get a chant going. What do we want? White power! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? White power!
It really is a kind of social physiology at work. And clearly it's probably tapping into that fairly primitive kind of response towards otherness.
Those little babies would never have to go to school with any fucking niggers or spicks or gooks. That little white girl would never have to worry about being raped by a nigger. None of your children have to worry about if they're going to have a job. They're going to have to compete with fucking Indians and Pakis. You know why? Because all non-whites would be fucking dead. They would be buried. We'd be the only ones left. That's what it has to be. In the big picture, that's what it has to be. I'm not a white separatist. I'm a non-white extinctionist.
The problem is when you make people afraid, that tends to make them more violent, especially towards other individuals who don't share their beliefs.
Two Palestinian suicide bombers blew themselves up in Jerusalem, and they killed several people, between them my sister.
הפיגוע שהיו שני מחבלים שם, והוא הלך לקניות. ואני בעצמי לא ידעתי, פשוט קלטתי, אני באתי עם הנכד שלי לבית מהגן, ואז היא שאלה אותי, אני שמעתי שהיה פיגוע, אז אמרתי לה, לא שמעתי כלום. שאלה אותי על בעלי, אז אמרתי, אני יודעת שהוא הלך לשוק. באותו יום היה לנו מאוד מאוד קשה.
זוכרת תקופה שעליתי לאוטובוס והסתכלתי אחד לראות ממי צריך לפחד, לשבת בקצה השני של האוטובוס, לשקול פעמיים לרדת או לא. זה בהחלט היה תקופה מאוד מאוד מפחידה. זה לא כיף להגיד את זה שאתה מפחד פה, זה לא מאוד נשמע טוב לצד השני שמנצח, אבל כן, ברגע שמתפוצצים לך אוטובוסים, אני לא יודעת, תחושה הטבעית זה פחד.
This is the names of the people who died here on September 9th in 2003. The windows were all blown out. There was a waitress looking hectically for her bag, trying to figure out what she had gone through. There was a body part sitting in the middle of the sidewalk.
Now I'm speaking as an Israeli responder. We are a society living in a continual fear for our existence and for the continuation of our nation and for the continuation of Jewish people. And if we are going to give up, if we are going to show a little bit of weakness, so we are going to end up like everything happened in the Holocaust.
You never know if the person in front of you is an honest civilian or a tourist who's going to kill you in a second.
If we will not be strong, they will be strong and they will kill us, they will eat us.
Galula moved with her husband and 3 children to the Israeli settlement of Ofwa. 6 years later, while on his way home from work, her husband was shot and killed by a Palestinian sniper. 3 months later, her oldest son suffered the same fate. She now drives her remaining children around in a bulletproof truck.
I bought this car because I feel more safety. It's like a box in the roof, in here, and in the floor. It's all bullet, against bullet.
What day was your husband killed on?
In a week, Monday, 29 January 2001. Asaf was killed 3 months after it, on the 1st of May 2001. If they would stop to kill us and live with us on peace, but who killed who? You tell me. Can you tell me who killed who? They kill us?
And you kill them.
Because they kill us.
One has to be very careful of accepting the postmodern view that everyone is equal completely. And we're talking about circles, and you care the most about the circle that is closest to you, your family and your close friends, and you care a bit less, but still you care a lot about your fellow neighbors in your city or your village, and you care a bit less about the people that live with you in your country. That's natural. And if Palestinians are getting killed while the State of Israel is trying to defend the life of citizens and not happy about it. I wish it's not a price we would have to pay. But I'm not willing to let Israeli citizens die in order that so Palestinians can just go on with their lives.
يعني انه انا انسجنت مثلا، الجندي بيخاف انه يعني انت مكلبش ومربط ومن ايديك ومن رجليك وحديد، والجندي بعيد عنك 5 متر خايف، فبتشعر انه صار عندك كرامه. هسا الجندي مع انه معاه سلاح يعني مستعد بس برصاصه طخك وبكى خايف. زي ما انا خايف ومش امن في داري، انت مش خايف ومش امن في داري.
September 9th, 2004. Ihab el-Qadar detonated the explosive vest he was wearing at a military base in Tel Aviv. He killed 7 Israelis.
قد ما معهم أسلحة مش آمنين. يعني طيب طالما إنك أنت خايف افهم إنه توجهش سلاحك لصدري وأنا أعزل السلاح. طيب إذا المرة هذه مثلا قتلتني أنا اللي وراي مستحيل يفوت له إياه. اللي يثار.
One potent remedy to fear is the assumption of massive amounts of power.
Zachariah Zubaidi is the most wanted man in the West Bank and leader of Jenin's Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. Friends with many Israelis as a child, he became disillusioned after seeing both his mother and brother killed by Israeli soldiers. He is assumed to be responsible for multiple attacks against Israelis, including the orchestration of suicide bombings. He has survived over 5 assassination attempts by the IDF.
أنا صغير لحديت هذه اللحظة كل وقت بعبي بداخلي الكراهية والحقد، بنفس الوقت الجبروت. يعني أنا بجيب لك مثال، لما ولد صغير عمره 12 سنة 13 سنة و14 أربش على ظهر الدبابة يوقف على ظهره من فوق، بشعر بدها تعطيه هاي الدبابة والاحتلال بدي يعطيه شعور إنه هو أقوى من الدبابة اللي واقف فوق. تشكل له ردة فعل إنه يعني هاي الدبابة ولا شيء. يعني ده أصبح سلاح، يعني نزعة الطفولة، هاي الدبابة نزعت الطفولة الموجودة عنده وأعطته قوة وجبروت أقوى من الرعب تبعها.
احنا منخافش منهم لانهم هم يعني يفكروا حالهم في السلاح تبع ينزلوا لنا بدون اسلحه في ايدين ما احنا بنكسرها. احنا بس عشان الاسلحه متشاطرين، بس يوم يجوا بدون اسلحه بنكون يتنفخوا مسترجون.
هي يعني مش فعليا وعدد قتلى لو نقارن بين الجهتين ما تسويش شيء، بس اللهم انها هي توازن.
Since 9/11, all the decisions have been made out of fear. When you run the largest, most powerful government in the world that way, and you get its populace to allow it to run that way, the kinds of things that you could produce in the world are horrific.
This war is what we need, what the world needs.
Wars are fought on the offensive. The war on terror will be won on the offensive. And America and our friends are staying on the offensive. My answer is bring them on.
There's always that chance in the back of your head that you're going to get blown up today. It's just not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when you get blown up.
Fear's like a plague. If you show that you're afraid and you're scared, your soldiers are going to be scared.
There's nothing calm about what we're doing out here. Calm sometimes means complacency, so I'd rather have them on their toes.
like one of those lights on the telephone poles flicker. You just sit there like, I hope that's not an IED.
I'm not so much worried about myself. It's the 10 guys that I've got under me. I would hate to lose one of them. I'd sooner it be me. It's my decisions that could kill one of these guys.
There's guys in this neighborhood that get shot at every day.
No matter what, you come at me, I am gonna come right back at you. Even worse.
If a guy's got a club and you've got a club, and you've got to beat each other to the death, you're gonna beat him harder than he beats you, because you don't want to die.
The fear that is built into us biologically is the fear of pain, fear of attack. But there's no way that evolution could prepare us for the knowledge of death.
More significant acts today. There was a dead body found in a car on Route Vernon and Cedars like an hour ago.
I hate the sound of that, man. That's just, it gives me the weebie-jeebies. We just fucking hearing that shit. A bunch of my buddies that's been over here before, they said that they'd always get attacked whenever the call to prayer was playing. Every time I hear it, that plays in the back of my head. So it kind of creeps me out. Hey, everybody.
The problem of consciousness is that we are smart enough to recognize that we will someday die. And what some people hypothesize, and I think that they're right, is that human beings solved the existential dilemma that was engendered by increasing awareness vis-a-vis consciousness by using the same cognitive capabilities that produced the problem in the first place through the formation of what anthropologists would call culture. And so one of the most valuable and necessary functions of culture is to give each of us as human beings a sense of where we came from, a sense of what it is that we're supposed to do while we're here, and of quintessential importance, what's going to happen to us after we die. It works quite well. We can feel that we're valuable members of a meaningful universe by confidently subscribing to a set of beliefs that explains to us the way the world works, and by adhering to the values that are intrinsic to the social roles that we inhabit in the context of our culture.
The question of nature versus nurture is still one debated in science. What is known is that in the early years of life, the brain's neurons are continually forming synaptic connections with other neurons influenced by signals received from the body and the world. These connections enthusiastically grow, explore, and compete for preservation in the ecosystem of the immature brain until the age of 6, When the majority of these explorations are complete, leaving us with a default blueprint of how we see our world, our culture, and our enemies. Or as Leo Tolstoy suggested, from now to the age of 5 is but a blink, but from a child of 5 to a newborn is a lifetime.
Come out here, kids. Hey, come on.
Who the heck is that? No.
And it's the 4 little boys, and they travel in a pack.
Luke!
They're kind of...
And I'm the leader.
See, we only have 3 out of these 11 children. There's only 3 girls.
Oh, yeah.
And Rebecca is our middle daughter.
I just told you that
little child thing going
your
on.
name was Jonah's nickname is Jamambo.
Jonah, climb out, bud, before you fall and hurt yourself.
And Lookie's nickname is Chunky.
Chunky? Shall I take that, or did you get it fair and square off the floor? That's the junk food cabinet, and you need to stay out of it.
You
don't get to have this much junk food in a day, honey. Come on. No, really. I saw you eating some with your dinner earlier. If you look at the issues of life from the scriptures, if you stick to those, it makes life blessedly simple, and it makes raising children no chore. Every parent has a non-delegable duty to teach their children, line upon line and precept upon precept, the whole counsel of God as they're able to understand it. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hands of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemy in the gate. God should come to you today and walk into your house and ask about the lies you told to your children and your spouse. He would show his wrath to you. Depart from me, he'd say. You wrapped yourself inside that flag, so to hell be on your way. I'm ashamed to be an American where the fags can freely roam. They spread their filth around this land, every pervert calls it home. I'll gladly stand up with a picket sign and proclaim God's word today, 'cause there ain't no doubt about this land. God hates the USA. There you go.
There you go.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
No, I'll cut that out.
The moment we were born, somebody starts shoving software disks into us. This is what we really mean when we talk about myth as a living reality. It means that my consciousness, that my identity, my sense of who I am, my sense of good, my sense of evil, my sense of those people who are going to be my allies, those sense of my people who are going to be enemies to me, those things are inserted into me before I have any self-consciousness that would allow me to be critical of them. So that every society gives to its children a predisposition to look at certain things and to ignore other things.
There it is, everybody. Oh, nice. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. There you go, right there.
I got you guys good with that sign though. Oh.
We are a part of something bigger than just ourselves, in that we're a platoon, we're a squad, we're a team, whatever level these soldiers are at.
I get to know everything there is to know about Sergeant Andrews. I mean, when we come back from patrol, we don't sit here and talk about the patrol. Where he's coming here and sit and talk about how his wife made the Christmas tree, or how his kids made all these letters. And I get to know that about him and his personality. And not only Sergeant Andrews, but everybody in my platoon, and then extended out to the company. That's what keeps me in the Army. For these guys, I don't know what it is. It might be the pay. But you never know, like the lieutenant might be the pay.
I'm already on the record having said the same thing you just said.
Not very far.
A lot of guys come in because of 9/11 and wanted to serve their country. For me, it's for these guys that I run around with out here. That's what keeps me going.
All right, we get hit with an IED. If everyone can move, we're gonna push through, take the first right or left, whatever the lead vehicle decides. All right, if the IA keeps going, don't worry about the IA. We'll go police them up after. All right, vehicle's a mobility kill, and there's vehicle behind it, and you can peel right or left, then peel right or left, and get some security back there for them, okay?
We got plenty of drinks and shit, right?
I don't have my cool guy radio. LT, I mean, top 5 job. You don't answer that phone anyways. Yeah. I've done radio checks on you, you don't. It's just one more thing for you to carry.
Wrong answer.
Hey, I'm gonna yell at you.
People say we come in the army to be cool. It's not about coming in the army to be cool. You come in the army, you want to be a part of something. You want to make a difference. You do it for your country.
Living on this sword and serving in the army and doing whatever it needs. And that's the price we have to pay in order to live in this very difficult country.
Israeli life is more invaluable to you than any other life.
I think that's true about every nation.
1, 2, 3, 4! We don't want your Jewish war! 1, 2, 3, 4! We don't want your Jewish war!
And saluting those guys behind me, screaming white power.
Tears come to your eyes. Tears.
The knowledge that them's mine. That right there is my people. And that, man, this is generation after generation after generation of our people.
Thousands of years standing together.
Thousands of years of it, and we're all standing in this one place. That's not hate, man. That is far from hate.
That's preserving our rights.
That is pure love. Knowing that if somebody crossed that line and put their hands on me, woe be unto them, man. Those guys would die for me today.
We got bike taters over here now.
It's not a surprise to me that there are what amount to supernormal stimuli. That is, and stimuli that can completely fool us. We speak the same language, therefore we're all comrades. And everybody who doesn't is somehow not good. We share the same rituals having to do with religion, and therefore we are all the same. We're all brothers, even though we've come from radically different backgrounds. And everybody who doesn't share this is enemy, is unclean. These are not necessarily just about fear and hate and anger. They're also very deep tendencies to organize social groups.
About family, working together, taking care of each other. Because who wants to grow old and wind up in a nursing home?
Excuse me, Mr. Knielsen, you don't mind if I hog in here, do you?
Well, go ahead.
Because, you know, you ain't doing it just exactly right.
Pour it slow, pour it slow.
I know.
Let's talk in, let's talk in.
I know.
Excuse my illiterate friend here, because he gets carried with everything.
Boils down to we're a group of brothers. We take care of each other. The AN, it stands for American Nazi. We got the swastika, the circle and the star, the points on it. Pretty much explains itself.
You guys Nazi skinheads?
I'm with my mom. She's in the North Georgia White Knights clan, so.
Oh, yeah?
This is my second rally. And so far I'm having a lot of fun. It's like really cool. And I'm fixing to go to a cave. And I got a flashlight. So it's like really, really fun. There's gonna be a greasy pig chase where these where they oil up a pig and they let it loose, and whoever wins it gets a prize. So I'm wanting to go because the pigs will run everywhere. You know, I won't be around when their pigs are, so.
No, get him, get him!
Hey, whoa.
Okay, he's dead.
Hey, Dad, you not can't help it.
Oh,
Ears even ripped off. Ears ripped away. Who killed it?
Everyone wants to have the world be better for their children than it was for them, and to give their children a better life than they have. And so when different people with different children, with different extended families, with different races, are all wanting that same dream, and those are contending loyalties, contending allegiances, contending goals, because not everybody's going to be a winner. There are going to be some losers in life.
This is started. Hey, take a picture of me too.
I would much prefer to have a normal, quiet life if I were able to, but I could not sleep at night knowing that I'd done nothing, or at least had not done whatever was possible to save my race from that threat of extinction.
I grew up knowing that I am a white person and I am responsible for more being white. And I work to instill those feelings in Billy, helping him to know that the white race is the supreme race, and we work hard to keep our race from extinction.
Holy Cross, we pray that the light of these crosses would spark into our hearts and ignite a victory for our people and for the young ones that are coming up. Please give them the strength to take the torch and carry it on to victory. We pray in your name. Amen.
If we're able to get up in the morning and to function with a modicum of psychological security, it's because our belief system is functionally intact. But when you think that somebody is attacking your way of life, that really is just psychologically equivalent to challenging your physical existence. That's why, in our opinion, people are literally willing to die for their beliefs.
Come over here! Nazi scum! Go away! Nazi scum! Go! Racism! We say no! Nazi scum have got to go! Waiting for the weekend, another late ring afternoon. Friends are gonna lose your power. Skeleton gonna call you. Push it to the rescue. Come after this Jew! Come after this Jew! There ain't gonna be ass crazy for you, man!
Like the cops are legalized Nazis. And why, oh why, are they protecting Nazism, sexism, racism?
I dare say if some of the attention that's given, some of these people, if they were ignored, would probably go away.
Go back to Israel! Go back to Israel!
Why didn't you come here so I could stalk you? Piece of fucking shit!
I don't think so. Go take some Midol.
That's what I think
Oh,
of
that was
you.
big.
That's what I
Hey.
fucking...
Billy has spoken to me many times and told me things like, Mom, you know I don't expect to live very long. I want you to know that I died doing what I wanted to do.
Well, Becker says, and I think he's right, that every society is also an immortality project. So let's take an example. Let's take Hitler and the creation of the 1,000-year Reich. The promise of that was that if you commit yourself to the Nazi way and to the dream of a new Aryan culture, you will take part in the creation of basically of an immortal system. You become a part of that which is deathless. So by sacrificing your life, you create something which is immortal.
اسمي عالتابوت! بالبندقية واقع بالبندقية واقع بالبندقية واقع بالبندقية والمعسكر في بيروت والمعسكر في بيروت والمعسكر في بيروت والمعسكر في بيروت شبيبة فتحاوية.
البلوك
Are all these yours?
عادي عادي مش مشكلة. ايش كيف شو؟
سأل كل هدول اولادك؟
لا ولا كلهم للحج يعني. امبارح كنت يعني زي ما تقول ابني انا الصغير سمع واحد بغني بعتب شايف هسه ما شفت له بعيط شايف ما شفت له بعيط بقول له ليه بتعيط؟ بقول لي ايه هاد بغني عن الشهداء يابا بغنيش عن الشهداء هسه صار كل ما يسمع واحد بنوح يعني اي بيت عتاب اي شيء ما تشوف له بصير عيط شايف هسه بقول له طيب يابا ما هو بغنيش عن الشهداء بصير ايش بقول لي مبلا بقول له طب ليش هو اغني بقول لي غني شيء مش يشفف بقول له طيب وكيف عم بشفف بقول لي بالمنام بالليل بصير احلم بالشهداء وبصير ايش
الشهادة بتفيد البني آدم بأشياء كثيرة يعني الحياة خلص هي طلع دايما دمار دايما قتل دايما ضرب دايما حصار يعني فيش مفار تطلع منه إلا يعني إلا الشهادة بس.
It is easier to hate someone who you see only one face of it. And I think Palestinians and Israelis saw only one face of each other.
In the beginning, whenever I hear Arabs speaking to each other about me, everything I hear is Itbaq al-Yahud, kill all the Jews.
The Israelis know the Palestinian, only one Palestinian. They know the Palestinians that want to bomb them. They know the Palestinian who sits in front of a camera and says, I decided to expose myself because of 2 and 3 or 4. And the Palestinian knows the Israelis who walks in the streets or stand in the checkpoint.
If we as a state sometimes hurt people and kill people in order to save the life of a lot more people, then that's the price we have to pay.
شعبنا فلسطين بيهتم للشهادة حماس وفتح كل شيء بتهتم للشهادة لا لازم يضل حاقد على العدو.
Looking for terrorists and all that, this is what I joined the army for.
It is one of the essence or the important essence of hating will be seeing the other side of one dimension evil force. And both sides can see each other very easily thanks to the media, thanks to the governments who preserve the situation, and the hating will be the outcomes of this situation, and it will only increase with the years.
Do you know any Palestinians?
No.
You don't know any Palestinians?
No.
We learn to demonize the enemy. That's why I think Jung is so wrong. We don't do it out of instinct. Warfare is not an instinct. Aggression is an instinct. We have instinctual energies and things like that. Creation of an enemy is something that we do. We educate people to hate. And that's the most important thing to understand. Hate is not instinctual. Hate is trained. Hate is learned.
In schools, we're taught that people are who they are and we shouldn't discriminate against them because of that. But then we look in the media, and the media tells us that Arab terrorists have attacked us and they're trying to destroy us.
Freedom.
An enemy who hates America for the very freedoms and values we cherish most.
From what I understand, their whole life they're just raised to hate Americans.
طب ليه الأبيات بتسمح لأولادها؟ ليه الأبيات بتمنعش أولادها؟ خلينا نجيبه بسؤال تاني. إحنا بالنسبة لنا كشعب فلسطيني فيش عنا مشكلة، نضلنا نخلف ويموتوا ونخلف ويموتوا.
Bet you never thought it would be like this.
משהו בכוונה זה רק של סיבה, תמיד יש סיבה לכל דבר. אם זה מחבלים שהם מבוקשים, שזה חובה לחסל.
I teach my son how to take care of himself. I teach my son how to survive.
As long as there's been humans, we have had to struggle quite literally to stay alive. From minute one, people who were physically strong enough and mentally swift enough to be responsible for defending the community were held in the highest of regards.
I am an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit, and I will never leave a fallen comrade.
You gotta fucking keep fighting. You keep fighting, you keep fighting, you keep fighting, and fight some more.
I don't know. I mean, there'll always be something to fight over, I imagine. Probably be fighting forever.
I bet you never thought it would be like this.
You will not forget the blood of the martyr.
So when we have remains, usually bring it out, put the two stand in the middle, and put the remains, and unzip the body bag, and the soldiers gather around and pray. America will never forget. This is the beautiful words. America will never forget your contributions. We'll never forget your dedication. We'll never forget your loyalty. For you are the very reason America is safe. America will always remember the soldier who gave not just their life, love for the country, but their life for the country. America will never forget. What a beautiful word.
Every guy does it their own way. I mean, like for me, I take a moment of silence on the day that Jones died. I've got his name written on my leg. I've got a picture of him up in my house. I tell my kids about it. If people ask me about it, I always mention Jones. Basically, I keep his memory alive. I don't let people know. I let them know, hey, this guy died saving 30 guys' lives.
Like at our company, we had a picture of Jones on this big plaque. And all the new guys who came in, first thing they saw was Jones on the wall right there. And all of them were like, who was this? This is Special Jones right here. He was one of the guys that fell last time. You know, and that right there, even the newest soldier that we have in our unit knows who that guy is because his picture was there. And that's the way to honor guys. Keep the memory alive.
The next day, at age 26, Staff Sergeant Christopher Sarasso was killed when an improvised explosive device detonated next to his vehicle.
As I sit in the stillness of the darkest night, and I listen to the thoughts of my heart, this heart that is broken and the wounds that reopened, oh, break it by the power of your grace. Break us by the power of your grace. Oh Lord, won't you break us by the power of your grace? Break us, remake us, don't let the sorrow take us. Oh, break us by the power of your
Staff Sergeant Sarrasso was my friend, my battle buddy, my roommate. He would always talk about his little girl, Liberty, and how much he loved her. Chris was a very loving and affectionate father all the times I've seen him with Liberty, and how his face would light up when he got a new picture of Liberty. This is one of the many things that Sergeant Sarrasso would want you to remember about him. Demon Free, this is Demon 2. I love you like a brother, and the rest of the demons love you. Your call sign will not be used over the net anymore. This is one way we can honor your memory.
Assured of the rightness of our cause and confident of the victories to come. In all that lies before us, may God grant us wisdom, and may He watch over the United States of America. Thank you.
You crossed the line! Now God is your enemy!
America rebelled and vexed His Holy Spirit. Therefore he turned to be their enemy, and he now fights against them. Isaiah 63:10. We say, thank God for IEDs. Thank God for thousands of IED killed and IED maimed troops.
In 1921, Carl Jung published his first work on the shadow, the aspect of the human psyche that we choose not to declare as our own, the evil, the dark, the scary. Others have proposed that through a host of complicated psychological systems we manifest that shadow, bringing it to life by projecting it onto others. This ingenious move provides two extraordinary benefits: the ability to disown all unwanted and feared evils, making ourselves superior in the eyes of a god, and two, giving us a tangible and physical form of evil that we can derogate, vilify, and kill.
Enemies are very, psychologically speaking, economical. They keep me from having to look at my own darkness and my own shadow. When we are in the process of congratulating ourselves as heroes, bringing democracy to the world, or when the jihadists are congratulating themselves on doing the will of Allah by eliminating the infidels, we're both unconscious, first of all of the harm and all of the cruelty and all of the evil that we bring about in the world. But the second thing that we're unconscious of, which is almost more important, is we are unconscious of the ways in which we are squandering the possibility of making happy lives, fulfilled lives, of healing lives, and making better society, of more creative technology, more democratic ways of being in the world. We're squandering our bright potentialities in becoming death dealers, warmongers.
We go in there, and it's not like any church I've ever been to. Women on one side, men on another side, very affectionate to each other. We sit down, and of course, where the men are. They figure we're homosexuals. And I'm just abiding my time. I just wait. I'm resigned to this is what I'm supposed to do. There's no reason not to do this particular church. That war, judgments of God are going to start right here.
When my husband was killed, the secretary of Ofra came here and said this will be a neighborhood after my husband, and they started to build here. So the government say no more. So now we built from here to there, okay? That's it.
If it's illegal, why do you keep building?
No, it's not legal, but after it's only a question of papers, no? It's our, God gave us like a present. I don't have any other land.
All Palestine, from sea to river. All of the land or of this land is for Muslims, and this is in the verses of Quran.
Planet, if we continue to do what we're going to do, we're not going to have to worry about it much longer, you know, because it ain't like thousands of years ago when the caveman could throw a rock. We have weapons of destruction so serious now that when we hate, you know, entire people can come up missing.
Warfare is fundamentally a theological act. It's an act of doing what it is that your God demands, and your God always being the true God, so that warfare is always poised as a way of destroying the enemies of God.
We shall continue to fight terror. We shall continue to fight the terrorists with all our strength.
You're maintaining your belief system in part by setting it in opposition to what you have designated as evil incarnate, and generally the dynamic is eerily familiar. You have a charismatic leader who declares him or herself divinely ordained to rid the world of evil.
We didn't ask for this war.
And that person just says, I know where evil resides, let's kill it, and things will be fine.
Our responsibility to history is already clear, to answer these attacks and rid the world of evil.
We're now in a context in which we have generalized not from a single individual or group of individuals to hundreds of thousands or millions of individuals. We're after things that are vastly out of scale.
contradictions in a holy war.
God bless America.
Something happened to me up there. All the air's let out of me, you know, in AA and NA they tell you, you got to hit a low. Well, see, coming to prison was not my low. I've already tried to take my own life. I hadn't succeeded at that, so I ain't hit my low. When I found out that I could not leave, that life without parole is what it means, I hit my low. So now I'm finna go through another veil. I'm finna go through the veil of reality. You cannot run anymore from who you are. So I'm sitting in a cell up there, and I can remember clearly saying this to myself. And it's the first time in all them years I'd heard the voice of God again. I said, man, there's got to be a better way. That's what I came to. And any man that I know that's ever changed from hate to the land of the living, that's the start of it. There's got to be a better way. And that's when I heard that voice that said, there is, are you ready?
How in the hell do you say I'm sorry? For something like that? I mean, sorry don't cover that. You don't say, you can't say I made a mistake. You can't say this. There ain't really nothing you can say that, yeah, it don't uncover that. I don't know what you say to that right there. I've actually looked at what could you possibly tell another human being about that, and sorry is not adequate. I made a mistake is not adequate. That is not a mistake. That's not, I'm sorry. I don't know what you do. That's why the only thing that I know that you possibly can do is you have to take and say, well, all right, what can you do to make amends as far as who you are today, and how can you get busy to straighten out the karmic wheel and look at the bigger picture? So I can't do anything about what happened, but I can do about today.
We are here as on a darkening plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. Matthew Arnold's vision in Dover Beach. But is there room for hope in the historical future? Is there room that we can lessen the quantity of evil? I believe there is, but I believe it is in re-owning the light shadow.
What is happening here is not an Israeli-Palestinian problem. What is happening here is not a Jewish-Arab problem. There is a crime against humanity that is taking place here. And this crime against humanity is being perpetuated by humanity. That again, like so many times before, is sitting aside and doing nothing while two crazy people are massacring one another.
We know that there are people who can do incredibly altruistic and powerful and amazing things on the basis of how they have acquired their symbol systems, on the basis of what they believe, on the basis of their sense of unselfishness, their sense of empathizing with others, of being able to get into the mind of somebody else. We know that it's possible to generate people like that because there have been people we recognize in the world like that. And many, many. I mean, we underestimate how many people have that capacity and who will, under certain circumstances, do remarkably heroic things.
Elik El-Hanan lives in West Jerusalem, the grandson of a great general who was also a pioneer of dialogue with the PLO. Elik was a soldier in an elite unit when his sister was killed in a Palestinian suicide attack.
I remember that I was very outraged when the only suggestion that the army and people around me had was, well, forget about it, get back to business, get back to routine, continue your life as usual. And, well, they even suggested to me, they said that probably the best idea for me is to go back to activity, continue working as quickly as possible, with the hope that I can even the score by killing someone else. And I remember for me that was like a red light. Okay, up until here I stop.
On September 21st, 2005, 14 Palestinian militants and 12 Israeli soldiers came together under the promise to never raise arms against each other again. They realized that the only solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict was a peaceful solution. They called themselves the Combatants for Peace.
If you look at our website, if you look at our brochures, we put a quote of Nelson Mandela on it, which says very simply, if you want to make peace with your enemy, you must work with him because this way he becomes a partner. And this is exactly what happened on a completely practical basis. Because I needed to work with them, I started talking to Palestinians. And once I started talking to them, well, they became partners. And once they became partners, they became real living human beings. Not stereotypes and not intelligence evaluations, but real human beings. With all of the different sides that this has, you know, very nice, very open, very friendly, that you can ask to, very annoying, very close-minded, but human beings.
I think we're biologically hardwired to be aggressive and to be afraid. But that doesn't mean that those inclinations can't be channeled in either benign or productive directions by changing the cultural software.
National community has the duty to say enough is enough.
First of all, bombing somebody, you know, to get them to think your way, the very last thing you can do is to threaten. That's the one thing that will shut off the empathy and therefore the ability to communicate. One of the things about communication that's important is that to communicate well, you need to anticipate what somebody else is thinking.
خوف بطل يشعر في الخوف من تأثير خارجي كعدو أو أي تأثير خارجي على الإطلاق، أنا لا أؤمن بذلك. مسألة الخوف هو موجودة ولكن في لها رد فعل على هذا الخوف، في مقاومة لهذا الخوف بشكل يومي، بشكل على مدار الساعة.
It's very difficult, it turns out, to educate people to kill other people. It's not easy. It takes a lot to do that. It takes every bit that much and more to educate people to become compassionate to strangers, to reach out beyond the perimeters of their own narrow culture and their own narrow well-being.
אנחנו לומדים בית ספר שנקרא גליל, וזה בית ספר שיש לו הרבה מאוד תועלת, כי אנחנו גם מכירים ילדים חדשים מעם אחר, מדעת אחרת.
We're taught to suspect people. We're taught that the enemy is untrustworthy and everything else. Now, a society that would own the fact that its images of evil are images that they inculcate in the young could then say, what would it mean to educate for compassion?
אני רוצה לבקש שיתחילו יותר לחשוב על האדם ולא על האדמה. שההי תרד קצת, ואפשר ללמוד את זה המון מהילדים פה, ילדים שבאים בלי שום דעות קדומות, ואם היינו יכולים כאילו להישאר איתם או ללמוד מהם איך להישאר בעולם הזה המקבל כל כך הזה. אני חושבת שלכולנו היה יותר טוב.
Empathizing is really hard work. And anybody who's been in a long-term marital relationship knows that you always get it wrong.
أنا بدي أرجع على بيتي وما بدي أطلبه من البيت. موجود هسه بدنا نعيش مع بعض. إذا بوافقوا مش مشكلة. إيش على فلسطين.
You think you've empathized, you think you figured out what the other person wants, and you know them really well, and by golly, you always find out that you made a mistake. It wasn't what you thought. And you get into arguments over this stuff, even though you're trying. So we know it's a hard thing to do. And so to do it at the level that's necessary to control these processes takes an incredible intellectual effort. That's one of the things that we should be working on.
Away from the heaven, they're coming slowly, slowly, slowly. And they were dancing here, here, 2 balloons here. And then, like, they told me, that's it. Stand up.
You've got to be open to see who is this. Let them introduce themselves. You can't see someone if all you see on them is your thoughts and your ideas and all the feelings and resentments that you have. You've got to be able to meet them. The only way you can meet them is they got to be able to express their life to you. And also you got to have a level of acceptance. What if they don't have their shit together? What if they got issues? Then that don't mean that that's all they are.
It's strange. It does mean that you've achieved the name recognition, which makes that possible. At the same time, it makes you wonder whether people are taking you seriously at all. When they say, hey, let's say that we want to talk to a Nazi. Who's someone that's a prominent, well-known Nazi that we could talk to, and they give my name. And so that means at least I've been somewhat successful in creating a brand for myself.
And play the damn radio. You understand me?
Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Those are the words Jesus Christ quoted. And the way you show you love him is to warn him when you see his sins are taking him to hell. It says otherwise you hate him. You hate your brother in your heart if you don't warn him when you see his sins are taking him to hell.
I don't know if there is a utopia, you know, where it's all going to work right. But the thing is, that doesn't mean that we don't need to work towards something. I think that we can do better than what we're doing.
I think we learn to empathize with people better than anything else by people's life stories.
A very long time. I was very young.
The initial reaction is obviously one of revenge. You want to get back at them, you want to find who did it, and then neutralize them. And that's where the discipline comes in. Understanding that you can't just go around shooting people because your buddy just died.
We would just come over and help out, help with security.
There's the average guy who doesn't have a job, doesn't have the money to feed his family, and the insurgents come up to him. I know you're hard on money right now, so here's a cell phone. Just watch this corner for me, and I'm going to pay you $100 to do it. And when an American convoy comes by, just hit send, walk away. Now, I've tried to put myself in the same situation. I think I'd be the same guy, hitting send on the cell phone.
Yeah, how are we the same?
مشتركين وين امريكا؟
ايه
اول شيء احنا نعمل كفريق واحد.
Now they work as Awaniko.
I don't see why we can't work harder as a culture to recognize the fundamental commonality between all human beings. Back in the day, we went through what's called a bottleneck, a genetic bottleneck, where every human is really closely related. So, you know, metaphorically, when we kill somebody because they come from another group, we're not killing an enemy, we're killing a cousin.
Ask him if his lieutenant wasn't here, would he still be a good lieutenant? If he wasn't in the same room. Did you pay him money to say that?
The case could be made that what I'm clamoring for is just to start to do in practice what we claim to have been doing in principle for many centuries, if not millennia.
No. The great culture heroes are those who are the outlaws. They're the ones who go outside of the social myth that has been given to them and explore other possibilities. And so they're the ones who bring the breakthroughs. So in that sense, changes in society will often be the result of remarkable individuals who say, wait a minute, this is not my story.
Thank you for the chai. Check it out. I'll get your hair gel.
Thank you.
Don't forget
Good job
about it.
tonight. Take care. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. And the condom. Appreciate it.
Come here, lady. You like that, don't you, huh? Yeah. This is Jasmine. This is Christopher's horse. This is the one that we were supposed to train for him when he comes back from Iraq. Christopher fought for his country. He fought for his freedoms. But most of all, he fought for this dream. And this dream and what he stood for over there is that with good hard work and dreams, anything is possible. And he left behind his daughter and his fiance, which I know is a hardship. But I just want people to know that there is life beyond war. Oh, come on.
Watched them doing this, and for the first time, these weren't homosexuals. These were just people who had mom and dad, brother, sister. Some may even have children, for all I know. And I put a face on the enemy, which you're not supposed to do, and I'm sitting there thinking, these people are not evil looking, don't have horns, they're not in some sexual orgy in this church. They admit that they're homosexuals. Nobody else welcomes them, so they have to have their own church so that they can worship God together. And I think, how is that any different than the rest of us who know that we have sin in our lives and we know that there's things that we're doing wrong, but we still reach out to God? How is that any different? How is one sin different than any other sin? And if I do this, I'm sitting there thinking, if I do this, I will not only kill everyone that's in this church, I will kill people across the street who have nothing to do with this because of the amount of explosives that I have. And who am I? Who am I? Now, I don't even know who I am anymore. I can't do this. I just can't do this. So I grabbed the briefcase and told him, come on, and we left. Boy, am I thankful.